Jai Mohanji, everybody. Namaste and welcome. My name is Pooja and I'm one of the Mohanji Acharyas from Canada. Today, we will be speaking with Eric Elbers from Canada. Eric is a fellow Mohanji Acharya and he's based in Victoria, British Columbia. Eric holds several important roles within the Mohanji Foundation. He has been on the journey of spirituality for over 45 years. We will learn together today about his journey and his connection to Mohanji and how it has changed his life. Please join me in welcoming Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hello, Pooja. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much for your time, Eric, and giving me the opportunity to do this so that people can know a little bit about you and your journey with Mohanji.
Well, I feel quite pleased and honored to be invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So let us start a little bit. I'm going to start a little bit differently with you than I would with other people that I usually interview with. I wanted to know because Mohanji has very beautifully explained to us about our constitution, our human constitution, and how we are divided. We are either bhakti yogi, a karma yogi, Gyan yogi, or a Raj yogi. For me, this is very interesting because I'm a bhakti yogi. And I know just reading about you and knowing you a little bit as well, that you follow the path of Gyan Yoga. Yeah. So I wanted to know a little bit about how first, maybe for our audience, if you can explain what Gyan Yoga is, and then perhaps how has Gyan Yoga helped you on your path to spirituality?
Yeah, it's interesting that you start with the Jnana path, because the path of wisdom is recognizing our true reality as truly not being what we think we are. We're not what we think we are. Yeah. I actually grew up in a Christian family in the Netherlands, devotedly Christian, in the Dutch Reformed Church, which is quite fundamentalist. And actually, my mom and dad were very devout Christians. Yeah. So I grew up in the path of devotion to the path of Christianity, to Jesus, right? Yeah. So my first 20 years, actually, I grew up in that church and that path. Yeah. And I had absolutely no training in the Eastern religion, and the richness of the Hindu faith. I had absolutely no clue about that. So I just followed along. I went to a school with a Bible. I went even to a Christian university. Had a brief stint to help out in the ministry. Mm-hmm. And then I studied geology. I went abroad from Holland to Canada and started a whole new life and started a family and just became a family man. But I lost the connection with the Christian environment, which was basically faith-based and devotional in nature. Yeah. So, that was, of course, a bit of a shock going to a new country, a whole new customs, new language, new people. Yeah. And it took about 5 years of adjusting to my new job, new path, new country, starting a family. That after our firstborn, after he was born, we visited a friend in northern Manitoba, up in the Lynn Lake area, which is frigidly cold in the wintertime. So we spent a weekend that we were there inside, and I went through my friend's library to see what he was reading, because I've always had a curious mind. Yeah. And I came across books written by Edgar Cayce. Maybe you've heard the name Edgar Cayce. Yeah. Cayce, also called the Sleeping Prophet. Yeah. What struck me about that, I found, I was always a curious mind, but Edgar Cayce was basically also a Christian a person, a Sunday school teacher, but he had this ability to go into trance and people would come to him, ask him all kinds of questions about health and life and advice.
Yeah.
And he would answer them in the trance.
Yeah.
And then when he woke up, he wouldn't know what he had talked, what he'd said. So it was totally, he was just like a channel for this information to come through. And I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
So in one of the sessions, while he was in trance, he started speaking about past lives.
Yeah. Wow.
While he, as a Christian and a Sunday school teacher, had absolutely no idea about past life. That's not part of the Christian faith. I never grew up with any idea about reincarnation.
Yeah.
Puja, I never even gave it a second thought.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you grow up and you're taught. It's like the food is put on your plate, right? You eat the food on your plate.
And you know what you know, right? You grew up in that environment, so that is what you know. Yeah.
But then, when I just read that this person, without him consciously knowing or analyzing or thinking about it, started talking about past lives and explaining karma, the concept of karma.
Yeah.
It was like a light went on.
Wow.
It like said, wow, of course.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And I remember I was so excited. But reading about that, where finally things started to fall into place, started to make sense. Well, after that weekend, which was in early February, as I said, bitterly cold in northern Manitoba, I went on a reading splurge. You know, there was a bookstore in Winnipeg where we lived at that time, and a spiritual bookstore with all kinds of books about all, various paths. And I remember every Saturday I went in, and I would go in and get maybe 5 or 6 books. And I would read them during the week.
You would read 5 to 6 books during the week?
And then I would know all that. I said, oh yeah, and all the knowledge, right? It was in those books. It would well up, and I would recognize it as truth. Now, I was unique in that because my wife wasn't like that, right? Nobody around me, but it seemed that it was just a flash in the pan, and all this knowledge started flooding in again.
Yeah. You might be a scholar in some life, and that you just recognize the knowledge that is coming to you. So that's amazing. I can't. I mean, it takes me a while to go through books as well. So that is truly amazing. If you can go through 5 to 6 books during a week, that is truly amazing. So Eric, was there any book in specific, especially on the path of Jnana Yoga, a specific book which really like settled really well with you and which really helped you to connect to Mohanji?
No, not at that time at all, because we're talking about now the early 70s. So there was no Mohanji, right?
No, not then, but now on the path, when you look back, like looking back, being with Mohanji, any maybe autobiography of Yogi, because
yeah, but what happened is that once sort of the flame was lit, then I started to look around, and there was an article in the paper about an interview with a person from Eckankar, which was the path of soul travel. And at that time, Eckankar was just starting up and expanding. And I thought, boy, that is really interesting. I need to learn more about soul traveling.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm interested in soul traveling, which was the way that was described and taught by Paul Twitchell, was that you were able to just leave your body and go on spiritual journeys with your master. And travel in the inner planes to temples and places and be a co-worker with God and go all over the universe and look here, look there, and do this, do that. And I thought, wow, that is so, but what I didn't realize and what wasn't really clear, that what Paul Twitchell was talking about, this ability to soul travel, is really a skill that is developed by adepts, people who are very, very advanced yogis. They developed the skill of consciously leaving the body and traveling into the universe on spiritual missions.
Yeah.
But the way it was presented is that what you had to do is just get a course and do some reading, do some exercises, and there you go.
Yeah.
So over time, I became disappointed that this Eckankar wasn't going to lead me to my soul travel aspiration. And then I did have an interesting dream just when I started out in that period. And you become very turbulent and excited. And I had this dream, and I was in this dream. I was seeing this beautiful mansion, and then I was looking at this mansion, and then I heard a voice saying that this house has been built with faith and perseverance.
Yes, I read that in your article. So I feel maybe that, and this dream you had quite early on, right? Like
right when this thing with Eckankar started, and I was getting started on the path, right?
Yeah. And do you feel that dream held true today? Did it?
Well, yes, because what I was looking for, this ability to travel freely into in the universes, I recognized it as truth and something that we should be able to do. But to this date, I don't have that ability. So in that sense, after 45 years of doing sadhana and very regularly, on a daily basis, twice daily, it's not something that I can pull off easily.
Yeah.
And I really need the grace of a tradition and a master, and I need to prove myself, right? I have to prove that I am, I have conviction, consistency, continuity, right? Faith, and of course, like I said, faith and persistent. I have to continue on this path in order to get where I want, but it's not something that you can force in any way. It is something that a flower will grow at its own pace. Yeah. Right. You cannot force a flower to grow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But what I actually meant, Eric, I didn't specifically meant soul traveling, but I just meant with that dream that it's built. Like what I'm saying is that it took your faith and your patience to get you to Mohanji, basically. That the journey of 45 years your journey of 45 years is a set. What's the word? Is a testimonial of your faith and your patience. The house has been built for you to reach to Mohanji is essentially what I was getting at. Yes.
Yeah, the house is the consciousness, right? That I had to eventually achieve, but I had to have faith, and I had to be persistent. Yeah. Because Mohanji, I only met 4 years ago. I learned about Mohanji again through my readings. I've been an active reader, all my life. But at Eckankar, I came to a point in the early 2000s where I recognized it wasn't the right path for me. It wasn't the truth for me. And after a short period of looking around, I latched onto Kriya Yoga with Yogananda. Yeah. Right. I read the autobiography of a yogi and said, here is a real true master, a very, very powerful master.
Yes.
And of course, he had passed away by that time. Yeah. But I thought that the path of Kriya Yoga was just fascinating. I wanted to learn more about. And actually, I've had, since that time, I've had 3 Kriya Yoga masters, right? And Mohanji being the latest.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know this about you. You had three. Yeah. So have you been initiated twice before in Kriya?
That's right. That's right. And actually, Mohanji doesn't want you when you've been previously incarnated.
Yes, that's true. That is true. How did you manage that, Eric?
So, when I got to know Mohanji, I said, it isn't right, and I'm following Mohanji, and it's doesn't feel right to follow another master for my Kriya. Yeah. So I wrote to the Kriya group and said, I'm applying to be initiated in Kriya, and they refused me. Yeah. Then I was told by another devotee of Mohanji at that time, you should try again. And so half a year later, I sent in another request to be initiated by Mohanji and to follow the Kriya path, and I was refused again.
You were refused again? Okay, I didn't know this. Okay.
So I was refused twice. And then somebody said, you should try again. Talking about faith and persistence,
yes,
right?
Absolutely. That is really your journey. Yes.
And
definitely.
then I said, okay, I'm going to apply again. So I applied again. I said, listen, I'm starting to doing work for Mohanji, and I want to bring it all under one umbrella. I want to bring all my practices and all my my spiritual path under one umbrella.
Yeah.
And would you please allow me to take consciousness Kriya training from Mohanji? Yeah. And then after a couple of months, I got a letter. We have good news for you. So they said, "Okay, you've been approved."
Congratulations! That's great. And just to let the audience know that Eric has already reached level 3 of Kriya, which is fantastic. Even though you were rejected twice, you're already on level 3, which is fantastic, Eric. This is great. I actually didn't know this about you, so this is fantastic. But I also know that you've read a lot about Kriya. So do you want to share with everybody just your how much ever you can at this point, your knowledge on Kriya and why it is important?
Yeah, Kriya is an accelerator.
Yes.
Right. It is if you're on a spiritual journey, it brings focus to your path, and it accelerates your spiritual development. And for me, it is probably the way to reach that goal of soul travel, right? Eventually, right? So,
yes.
Kriya has a very long history, and what is interesting about Kriya is that it dates back from at least a couple of thousand years as a spiritual discipline to help serious spiritual seekers, sadhaks, practitioners of spiritual practices to advance in their spiritual development, right? Lead them to liberation, freedom from reincarnation, and self-realization. So it's a beautiful, very directed path. But Kriya until 1861 was kept secret. It was only available for disciples of a spiritual master who himself had been trained in Kriya. So it was a very, very, can you say, exclusive path. It was certainly not available to the general masters or the households. That changed in 1861 when a person by the name of Lahiri Mahasaya was transferred into the foothills of the Himalayas, and he was one afternoon was walking in the foothills, and he heard his name called. And he looked around, he said, how would anybody know my name? And he went up to this person, and he met with a very high spiritual master by the name of Babaji.
Babaji.
The eternal master. Babaji is the torch bearer of Kriya Yoga in the world. Babaji himself was a spiritual student back in around 200 after Christ, in southern India, where he was trained. He was trained under very high spiritual masters, Boganathar and Sage Agastya. He was finished off, did extreme sadhana in the Himalayas, and is actually an incarnation of the son of Shiva.
Kartikeya.
Yeah. And he is charged with guiding spiritual seekers to the path of Kriya and helping them unfold on the path of Kriya. Now, interestingly, in the Kriya history, which was written in the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda, Yogananda writes that Babaji and Christ were communicating, getting together. And in the story that, as told by Yogananda, Christ tells Babaji that I have all my, so many dedicated followers, right, as Christians in the world. But what they're lacking is a means for personal spiritual development, because it's the path of the devotion, and they're doing charity, all these beautiful things. But what they need is a spiritual discipline, techniques to advance themselves. So it's Christ and Babaji, they got together and they decided to bring Kriya Yoga into the world as a means for the people in the world to advance themselves on a rapid spiritual growth path, right? Which was Kriya Yoga. So there was indeed a plan where, after Babaji called Lahiri Mahasaya, right, to him, and he gave him the technique, the Kriya Yoga techniques. Initially, it was mentioned that the Kriya Yoga was only going to be for monastics, for disciples, right? But Lahiri Mahasaya requested Babaji to extend the Kriya Yoga practice to householders, which was a seminal change that happened in the 19th century. Because prior to that time, Kriya Yoga was not available. But since that time, Lahiri Mahasaya received permission to teach Kriya Yoga to householders, right? Which was a big change. Then what happened is that Lahiri Mahasaya trained Yukteswar, Sri Yukteswar, who trained Yogananda. And Yogananda was actually given the mission to bring Kriya Yoga into the Western world, and was sent into the USA. So there was a plan, and there was a sequence that it took from 1860 to 1920, when Yogananda arrived in the USA. There was a period of 60 years when there was actually a preparation and a training that happened for Yogananda to bring out the Kriya Yoga teachings into the USA. And Yogananda was phenomenally successful. He was a driver. He had charisma. He was inspirational. He fully dedicated, a very high master. And when you think back, the task that he had to bring Kriya Yoga into the USA in 1920, which was, a very conservative Christian culture,
country,
right?
So
in order for Kriya Yoga to be accepted by an Indian guru in that culture,
it's a huge deal. Absolutely.
So what he did, actually, he built a bridge to Christianity. So he recognized Christ as an avatar and honored Christ, so that Christians had a way to come into Kriya Yoga and feel connected. So if you go to a temple or a meditation room of the Self-Realization Fellowship, which Yogananda started, you will see a picture of Babaji, and you'll see a picture of
Jesus.
Of Jesus.
Yes. Wow. I haven't been there. But thank you, Eric, for sharing that. That's really amazing. So while you were speaking, it made me realize how blessed and lucky we are to be initiated into Kriya by Mohanji. And we were so blessed and lucky to have Kriya. We were given Kriya and it's so difficult to receive Kriya, and Mohanji has even talked about that. So in that essence, we are truly, you and I and everybody who's been on the path with Mohanji, we're so blessed. What I'll do is also share with all our viewers, I'll share the link to the Kriya, how to get like how to apply for Kriya. I'll put the link in the comment section in this video. So please do, if you are interested, after listening to Eric, if you're interested to apply for Kriya, definitely do read up on it, and definitely apply and see if you get accepted, or maybe like Eric, you might have to try a couple of times to get accepted.
And don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up. Exactly, right? So, Eric, so let's talk a little bit about meeting Mohanji. I read you were talking about how you got connected to Sai Baba, and while reading about Sai Baba, you read about Satya Sai Baba, and then that's how you got to Mohanji. So maybe you can share a little bit about your connection, and how did you know that Mohanji is the master you want to follow?
Well, I tell you what happened, because there's after Kriya, I had briefly followed Amritananda Mahima, which is known as Mama the Hugging Saint.
Yes.
And Amma, since the mid-80s, had tours in the USA, circular tours, visiting many places, and she would annually visit Seattle, which is close to Victoria. And I learned about Amma, and she was the hugging saint who has nothing but compassion and love.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, Eric, what you need, you've been doing so much reading and so much head work.
Yeah.
You need more heart. Yeah. So I felt that I needed more compassion, right? Develop compassion and develop the heart. So why don't you go and see Amma?
Yeah.
So I went to Amma. I've been to Amma, you know, three times.
Yeah.
And she initiated me. She gave me a mantra. You know, she hugged me and whispered sweet words in my ear, and you know, all happy and bliss. But you know, Puja, what the difficulty I had with the Amma conventions and meetings was the number of people surrounding Amma. Yeah. Amma had built up a following since the mid-80s, and she has millions. She has over maybe 30 by now, for nearly 40 million people that she actually physically hugged, right? It's just what she's done it's unbelievable, because she was going around the clock hugging people and talking to them and whispering, you know, in their ears, and it's just amazing what Amma has accomplished. Yeah. But in over that period of time, for decades, she built up a whole structure, an organization, and she's so many universities, hospitals, charities, you know, emergency help, everything. It's astounding her what she has accomplished. But there was a whole pyramid of people, right, to be of service and mean something for Amma. That would be difficult, because there's already so many people that are already have accepted roles. Yeah. And I when I started reading about Shirdi Sai Baba, and yes, you know, I'm an active reader. Shirdi Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba. In an interview, I read an article written by Mohanji about his experiences with Satya Sai Baba. Yeah. And I said, oh, wow, you know, here's an up-and-coming master, a young master who is starting his mission. That was in 2017. Yeah. And I just felt called to contact him, because I felt that with my experience in Kriya Yoga, my experience in Ekankar, Amma, that I might be able to play a role in helping him in his mission. Yeah. Right? Because with Amma, Amma was full. The slate was full. Right?
It was established.
But if you can, and I read enough about the early part of Amma's journey, when she was starting out, she had a small group of people that helped her along, right?
Yeah.
To build her, to help her in her mission, to build her
foundation, basically.
Following, build her following. So I thought, there's an opportunity with a master who I recognized in Mohanji, that he was a genuine master, right? A genuine, sincere master of a great pedigree with Satya Sai Baba and Shirdi Sai Baba. You cannot go wrong.
You can't.
If you can play a role in helping him in his mission as he's starting out, then I think we can be of use. We have a useful life, right? We can do something that is of value. So that basically drew me to Mohanji, is the opportunity to be of service. That was it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Eric. And, this is exactly why I do these sessions, these interviews with people who are connected to Mohanji's, because I know in future, a time is going to come where people would want to, just like how you couldn't get to Amma, there are people who are not going to be able to get to Mohanji.
Oh, that's right.
And we are so blessed, Eric, you and I, and all of us, that have had one-on-one opportunities with Mohanji. We are so blessed to have the opportunity to serve the mission, and that is one of my primary reasons to do these interviews, so I can bring these stories of all the devotees of Mohanji, so that people can know more about Mohanji in this manner. Right. So that's fantastic. So Eric, you met Mohanji during the Pran Pratishtha in the Canadian ashram. Is the first time you met Mohanji?
Right. Yeah.
And you got initiated in Kriya during that time as well, right?
Yeah. The initiation was 1 year later in 2019. Yeah.
Oh, 2019. Okay. Yeah. And Mohanji, when he met you, he said, "You and Eric and I have a deep connection." He said
that was a surprise to me, because I thought I had in a way searched him out, but apparently we are connected from past lives which are not known to me and known to him. But I hope one time to be able to ask him to tell me more about it, because I'm sort of curious in what way we have been connected in the past.
Hopefully, when he comes this time, you can get to speak with him, Eric. So, how did you make a decision to become an acharya?
Well, again, that just flows naturally from the desire to be of service, right, and to help Mohanji in his mission. So when Mohanji rolled out his acharya program, the leaders in Canada approached me and said, would you be interested in getting a training as an acharya?
Yeah.
And, I've never said no to anything like that. It was just a great opportunity.
Yeah, fantastic, amazing. So I know that, Eric, I wanted to really especially touch on one very important thing. I know you are very involved. I mean, you were I don't know what the word is, co-founder or no, a founder or who initiated the My Dattatreya website. So if you can share a little bit about your connection with Dattatreya, and then how that led to creating My Dattatreya website.
Yeah. Again, when we read about Mohanji, then we read also about the tradition to which he belongs.
Yeah.
Mohanji says, interestingly about himself, that he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
He said, I don't exist as Mohanji. Mohanji as such doesn't exist.
Yeah.
He is an open vehicle, an open channel.
Yes.
Right, for the tradition to work through him, and many masters worked and have worked through Mohanji.
Yeah.
So, but the primary channel for the spiritual energy flowing through Mohanji is the Dattatreya energy, which is the energy of the Trinity, and the Trinity is just a manifestation of the supreme consciousness of the ultimate, right, Parabrahma.
Yeah.
So recognizing that Mohanji, he himself just always honors the tradition, and he doesn't put himself out as being, you know, the new guru, the great guru, right? And he just minimizes himself.
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be wonderful for people to learn more about the Dattatreya tradition, because Mohanji is such an integral part, and basically you can say he is a modern day mouthpiece for the tradition. Right? He speaks on behalf of the tradition, and he speaks not, he doesn't speak on behalf of Mohanji himself. He said, Mohanji doesn't exist. He is the tradition. He speaks the tradition. He is Dattatreya working through him.
Yeah.
So it was back about 2.5 years, shortly after I'd become an Acharya, that I wrote to Mohanji and said, you know, it would be wonderful to develop a website about the Dattatreya tradition. Right, so that people can learn about the Dattatreya masters, the history of the masters, and the teachings. And so I asked him for permission to start something like that. And he wrote back that yes, that was something that, you know, that should be done at some point. And I know that at one of the conference calls we had with Mohanji, he said, "Is Eric here?" And I was present at the call, and then he asked, you know, "Eric, are you going to develop the Dattatreya website?" So and I said, "Of course, I'm ready to roll." And so we put a team together with the help of the Acharya board and people that volunteered and wrote to me spontaneously that, you know, I like to be part of the Dattatreya group, the Dattatreya website. And so we got a very talented group of people together. And we've been working on the Dattatreya website for 2.5 years. And all the avatars and the masters of the Dattatreya tradition, they're all there. We can read about them. And Mohanji himself, obviously, you know, he is included as well. And what I like myself about the website related to Mohanji is that it frames Mohanji in the tradition, in the Dattatreya tradition, that he is not a standalone spiritual master that has come out and said, you know, I'm a new Sadguru. No, he is very humbly features himself. He is profiled, his history, his personal history is there, his teachings are there. What I gave as the guidelines to the group, which we formed, is that in my vision, the website had to be informational, right? It had to inform, right? And it had to inspire, right? We wanted to inform and that. And that I think it's doing that by bringing together these great masters, and the job itself has been very satisfying. And reading about them, putting information together, doing everything is just
And you're getting good views on it too, right, Eric?
Yes, excellent views. Excellent views. It also allows us to, through the Facebook groups. I have also developed two Facebook group and a Facebook page, my Dattatreya Facebook page, and the Friends of Dattatreya. Back in 2019, shortly after I'd been trained as an Acharya, in November of 2019, I formed a group called the Friends of Dattatreya. On Facebook. It was a group, and I started out inviting people and writing articles about the Dattatreya masters and the Dattatreya teachings. And as of today, since late 19, which is just a matter of a year and a half, we have 1,500 people.
Wow.
On the Friends of Dattatreya. Following that, we have about 10 new friends joining every week.
Yes.
And we have daily articles, 5, 6 new articles. Yeah. So it has caught on.
Yes.
And then, with the group, everybody can bring material copy and articles.
Yeah.
So in order to have a more focused and the ability to advertise, I formed I built a page, a Dattatreya page called My Dattatreya.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my Dattatreya page is strictly focused on the Dattatreya tradition. And when I have an interesting post, which could be a quote from the website, right, from one of the masters, I can feature it as a post on the My Dattatreya Facebook page.
Yeah.
Then do a boost, right? Boost it. And I boosted these articles into the big cities of India, to people that who are interested in spirituality, yoga, meditation, and mindfulness. Yeah. And we have had phenomenal response. We basically thousands of people. Yeah. We can get on a good ad, we can get over 100,000 reactions.
Wow, amazing.
60,000 thumbs up, and people sending the articles to others, forwarding it on and making comments. Yes. So it as I see it, it's a very nice platform to share the teachings of Dattatreya and at the same time share the teachings of Mohanji. Yeah. But it's done in a subtle way because Mohanji is framed as part of the Dattatreya tradition. Yes. Right? Yeah. So, and then people, as they become interested in Mohanji, can read up more about Mohanji, but actually the presentation is the entire tradition, and not just one guru, one teacher.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Eric. And to all our viewers, I will again post the link to my Dattatreya website, so all of you can have access to it and have a view to what has been created by Eric and the team. So thank you, Eric, for sharing that beautiful. I had no idea about the journey of how it got created. So it's always great to learn about it. So I think we're coming to the end of the interview, Eric. I always ask this question to everybody that I interview who have been with Mohanji. Do you have any moment, a specific moment, or anything specific with Mohanji where you just had to take a step back and said, wow, did this just happen? Did Mohanji just do this, or did he just say this to me, or something like a complete wow moment with Mohanji?
For me, the relationship, Puja, has been very subtle. Okay. So I don't have a lot of wows to share. Yeah. But the main thing that has been happening when I look at my spiritual journey in the past few years with Mohanji, you mentioned, I'm attracted to the jhani path, right? Yeah, yeah. It's a path of wisdom and finding out what we really are. And the interesting thing is that I feel less and less connected with the person Eric Elbers. Wow. Right, the person Eric Elbers is actually shrinking in size. Wow. It is, yeah, I know Mohanji said he doesn't exist, but I'm not saying I don't exist also. But yeah, of course I do exist, but the importance of the ego and to be satisfied and to have its desires fulfilled and to be, it is the becoming smaller and less significant as an individual, right? Is the ego identity is slowly, I would say it's slowly dissolving.
Wow.
And I wouldn't say it's a wow moment.
Yeah. Well, it's wow to me, but okay. Yes. I think, well, Eric, that's still really amazing.
I would say it's more like the image that they use of a sugar a statue that you drop into the water and the sugar falls apart, the sugar granules fall apart, right? It dissolves, right? It dissolves.
Yeah.
And in the end, what you have is just a glass of sweet water, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like that because as a person or anything individually, self-belittlement, right, is actually making yourself smaller and smaller and less significant, and recognizing that actually I don't, as a person, I don't exist because it's an illusion.
Yeah.
The person Eric Elbers as an identity, as a person, right?
Yeah.
Illusionary. It is just the mind and the feelings, right? And the ego, and this is being built up through a lifetime that gives the illusion that there is something there.
Yeah.
But it is just, the way I look at it, is just a little signature in consciousness that growly dissolves, right? And the signature dissolves, and all there is left is consciousness. Because when you realize that you don't exist, what you are consciousness.
Yeah.
So that's pretty astounding. And I'm not saying I'm there because I'm not. I know I got some distance to go.
Yeah.
But that is the journey, is to dissolve into consciousness. And
exactly.
This is what the empowerment program of Mohanji is about, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Dissolve the ego, and he's going very methodically through the steps of doing that. And I would say for me in the last 4 years, gradually, that is happening, that dissolution is happening, but it's not it's a process, Pooja. It's not an event.
Yeah, it's not. It's a process.
It's
yes.
a process.
And that's how Mohanji is approaching it as well. And exactly as you mentioned in the Empowered program, he's taking these steps, and it's exactly as you said, it's a process, it's slow, but it is still amazing, Eric, to be able to even to recognize and reach this stage where you actually feel you are dissolving into him. I think it is, to me, it's a completely wow moment. So I think that's a really good way to end this. So so I guess, so these were all the questions, Eric, I had for you. So I really want to take this time to thank you, Eric. I know we've been speaking for almost an hour. I want to take this moment to really thank you, to share your journey, share your amazing journey, I should say, with all our viewers. And hopefully we would hope that a lot of them are inspired and get connected to Mohanji just listening to your story. So I just want to take this moment and thank you for being here. And I look forward to putting this video on, and we'll you and I will connect offline. So thank you, and thank you to all the viewers for joining. If you want to learn more about Mohanji, you can visit the official website, www.mohanji.org. Thank you, and I will see you all very, very soon. Jai Mohanji.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you.